In May 2007, the McCann family was on holiday in Praia da Luz, Portugal, enjoying what was supposed to be a peaceful vacation. On the evening of May 3rd, Jerry and Kate McCann left their 3 children sleeping in the family's apartment while they dined at a nearby tapas restaurant with friends. They were only 55 meters away, and the parents took turns checking on the children throughout the evening. But when Kate went back around 10 p.m., Madeleine, who was just 3 years old, was gone. The window in the room was open, and panic immediately set in. The Portuguese police was called in, but the investigation into Madeleine's disappearance was chaotic from the start. The police failed to properly secure the crime scene, leaving it contaminated, and this led to potential destruction of critical evidence. Leads were missed, delays piled up, and miscommunication between authorities only made things worse. As the search for Madeleine continued, media attention turned the case into an international frenzy. The McCanns were initially portrayed as desperate parents, but public opinion began to shift when, in September 2007, Portuguese authorities shockingly named Jerry and Kate as formal suspects, or arguidos. The media frenzy exploded, and the McCanns faced intense scrutiny. However, by mid-2008, they were officially cleared of any involvement in their daughter's disappearance. However, the night Madeleine went missing, the McCanns were dining with a group of friends dubbed the Tapas 7. The friends were also questioned extensively, adding another layer of complexity to the investigation, but that didn't help either. Over time, the McCanns hired private investigators and spent millions searching for clues, but progress remained elusive. Over the years, reports of sightings trickled in, including the infamous Tannerman sighting, where a man was seen carrying a child matching Madeleine's description near the apartment. None of these leads brought answers. To this day, her parents cling to hope, and her case remains one of the most confounding unsolved disappearances in modern history. The next case on our list is the vanishing of Johnny Gosch. On the morning of September 5th, 1982, in West Des Moines, Iowa, 12-year-old Johnny Gosch set out on his usual paper route. It was early, around 6 a.m., and Johnny typically delivered papers with his father. But on this day, he went alone, taking along the family dog. Just hours later, the Gosch family's phone began ringing with complaints from neighbors who hadn't received their newspapers. Johnny's parents, Noreen and John Sr., were concerned. John Sr. retraced his son's route and found his red wagon full of newspapers, abandoned a few blocks from their home. Johnny, however, was nowhere to be found. Witnesses later reported seeing Johnny talking to a man in a car shortly before he vanished. Some claimed the man was asking Johnny for directions, while others described seeing a second man in a separate vehicle, watching nearby. These accounts suggested a coordinated abduction, but they provided no leads on where Johnny had gone. When Noreen and John Sr. reported their son missing to the police, they were told it was likely a runaway situation. Crucial hours passed with no action, and by the time authorities started investigating, any evidence that might have been left behind was long gone. As days turned into weeks, the case took on a life of its own. Noreen Gosch became a vocal advocate for her son and for missing children nationwide. She claimed that Johnny had been abducted by a highly organized human trafficking ring, an idea that gained traction in the media. Noreen later alleged that Johnny had even visited her years after his disappearance in 1997, saying he was alive but unable to come home due to fear for his life. This claim, however, has never been substantiated. Johnny's disappearance helped inspire the creation of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and prompted the practice of putting photos of missing kids on milk cartons. Today, more than 4 decades later, his mother continues to believe he is alive, held captive by forces too powerful to confront. We now come to the case of the Beaumont Children. In January 1966, a scorching summer day in Adelaide, Australia, 3 siblings, Jane, Arna, and Grant Beaumont, set out for Glenelg Beach. Jane, the eldest at 9 years old, was trusted to watch over Arna, 7, and Grant, 4. It was a routine outing, one they'd done many times before, but this time, they never came home. Their mother, Nancy, expected them back by lunchtime. When the hours ticked by with no sign of the children, she and her husband, Jim, grew anxious. They called the police, and the search began immediately. Witnesses later reported seeing the Beaumont children on the beach that day, playing with a tall, thin, blonde-haired man. He appeared friendly, chatting with the children and helping them play games. Around 12:15 p.m., the children were seen leaving the beach with this man, seemingly at ease. A local postman, who knew the children well, claimed he saw them walking along Jetty Road around 3 p.m., laughing and unaccompanied. But after that, the trail went cold. The investigation quickly escalated into one of the largest in Australian history. Police scoured beaches, parks, and surrounding neighborhoods. They conducted house-to-house searches and drained nearby bodies of water. Despite the massive effort, there was no trace of the Beaumont children or the mysterious man they were seen with. As the days turned into weeks, theories about what happened began to emerge. Some speculated the children had been abducted by someone they trusted, perhaps even someone they'd met on previous trips to the beach. Others suggested they might have been victims of an organized crime ring or a pedophile network. Over the years, several suspects were investigated. One of the most notable was Bevan Spencer von Einem, a convicted murderer linked to the later family murders in Adelaide. Although von Einem's profile fit the description of the man seen with the children, there was no concrete evidence tying him to their disappearance. Decades of investigation went on, but the fate of Jane, Arna, and Grant Beaumont remains unknown to this day. The next case on our list is the disappearance of the Sodder children. On Christmas Eve 1945, the Sodder family home in Fayetteville, West Virginia, was engulfed in flames. George and Jenny Sodder, along with 9 of their 10 children, were in the house that night. While 4 of the children managed to escape with their parents, 5 were never seen again. The fire began shortly after midnight, and despite George's desperate attempts to save the children, the flames spread too quickly. Oddly, no remains were found in the rubble after the fire was extinguished, raising the haunting question: did the Sodder children perish in the fire, or were they taken? The Sodders immediately suspected foul play. The night of the fire, a series of strange occurrences added to their suspicions. Earlier that evening, a man had appeared at their home, offering to sell life insurance. When George declined, the man reportedly said, "Your house is going up in smoke, and your children are going to be destroyed." Around the same time, the family had noticed unusual behavior from passers-by, including a woman who seemed to be watching the house. Even during the fire, oddities abounded. George's ladder, which he intended to use to reach the children's upstairs bedrooms, was missing. When he attempted to start his trucks to drive closer to the house, neither would work. Despite both functioning perfectly the day before, Jenny later claimed she heard what sounded like a thump on the roof, followed by a rolling noise, hours before the fire began. After the blaze, the official investigation concluded that the children's remains had been completely incinerated in the fire, but the Sodders were unconvinced. A local crematorium told them that even at high temperatures, bones should have been found among the ashes. The absence of remains, coupled with no noticeable smell of burning flesh during the fire, fueled their belief that the children had been kidnapped. The family began their own search, chasing every lead. Witnesses claimed to have seen the children alive after the fire, including reports of them being spotted with a group of adults at a diner in a nearby town. Another witness claimed to have seen them in a car watching the fire from a distance. In 1949, the Sodders had the site of their home excavated, hoping to find clues. Although a few small bone fragments were uncovered, experts determined they were too old to belong to the Sodder children. Desperate for answers, George and Jenny erected a billboard along Route 16, featuring photos of the missing children and offering a $5,000 reward for information. The billboard became a haunting symbol of their grief and determination. One of the most chilling developments came in 1968, when Jenny received a photograph in the mail. The picture was of a young man who bore a striking resemblance to her missing son, Louis. The photo was postmarked from Kentucky, but had no return address. Scrawled on the back were cryptic words: Louis Sodder, I love brother Frankie. Elil boys. The Sodders hired a private investigator to follow the lead, but he vanished without a trace. Despite decades of searching, the case remains unsolved. Our final case is the disappearance of Emanuela Orlandi. On June 22, 1983, Emanuela Orlandi, a 15-year-old girl and the daughter of a Vatican employee, vanished without a trace in Vatican City. Emanuela had left her home to attend a music lesson in Rome, something she did regularly. However, this time she never returned. Witnesses reported seeing Emanuela speaking with a man offering her a job selling cosmetics for a well-known brand. An interaction that seemed innocent at first, but quickly took on sinister overtones when Emanuela failed to show up at her music lesson. The Vatican police, Italian authorities, and even the Pope himself became involved in the case. The family received several strange phone calls from unidentified individuals claiming to have information about Emanuela, each adding layers of confusion to the investigation. The most notable call came from someone identifying himself as the American. He claimed Emanuela had been kidnapped in an attempt to secure the release of Mehmet Ali Aka, the man who had attempted to assassinate Pope John Paul II in 1981. This theory tied her disappearance to a larger political conspiracy involving the Vatican, Turkish extremists, and international intelligence agencies. However, no concrete evidence ever supported this claim. Over the years, the case grew increasingly murky, soiled in allegations of corruption, cover-ups, and connections to organized crime. One theory suggested that Emanuela had been abducted by the Banda della Magliana, a powerful Roman crime syndicate, as leverage in a financial dispute involving the Vatican Bank. Another claimed she was taken as part of a sex trafficking operation linked to high-ranking members of the church. In 2019, the Orlandi family requested the Vatican open 2 tombs in the Teutonic Cemetery after receiving an anonymous tip. The tombs were believed to hold clues to Emanuela's fate, but when they were opened, no remains were found. Instead, investigators discovered a hidden ossuary containing thousands of human bones, deepening the mystery. Emanuela's case has been the subject of documentaries, books, and endless speculation. Over the years, multiple popes have expressed condolences to the Orlandi family but have provided no new information.